Once upon a time, there was a hairdresser. This hairdresser's husband, we're going to call him Hidalgo, and the hairdresser will call her Fiddlesticks. Hidalgo called me and he said, Dumbledore, that's what we're going to call me. Dumbledore, I think my wife is cheating on me. And I said, well, I'm your man. So he said, she says she's going down to the lake for a girls' weekend this weekend, but I don't think it's just a girls' weekend. You know what I'm saying? And I said, Hidalgo, I do know what you're saying, and I can help you. So I set up on Fiddlesticks Hair Salon, and sure enough, we boogied out of town right after work. We boogied down to the lake, and we got to a hotel. So I set up in the hotel, called my boss, and I said, what do you want me to do? He said, get a room. So I got a room, and then I set up in the lobby, and I sat in the lobby for about 6 hours while I waited for Fiddlesticks. And sure enough, Fiddlesticks comes downstairs with, yes, a girlfriend, but also 2 boyfriends. And so I said to myself, that doesn't look quite right. So I followed them, and we got in the car, and once we got in the car, we went to a restaurant. And the restaurant we went to had a very big parking lot and multiple restaurants at it. So I set up in the parking lot where I could see the car, and I just stayed with the car. They went into the restaurant, and they ran up a big tab. Now, how do I know this? Because about 3.5, 4 hours later, they come out stumbling drunk as a skunk. And they was all over on each other, kissing up and everything. So Fiddlesticks and her boo walk over to her car. They get to the tailgate of it's a Ford Explorer. They get to the tailgate, open it up. He lifts her up like Prince Charming and puts her on the back of the car, and they have carnal knowledge right under a streetlight in the middle of this parking lot. So, of course, being the private investigator that I am, I film everything, and I call the client and I say, Hidalgo, we've got good news and bad news. Bad news is she is having an affair. Good news is I was able to film it and you got your money's worth. So I follow them back to the hotel, and of course they are, like I said, drunk as a skunk, driving all over the road. So as we're driving there, I call the police after calling the client to let him know I'm going to do so, and sure enough, they get pulled over. The end.